Welcome to As Fresh as It Gets, the show where we take you behind the scenes and let you meet San Mateo County growers and the people who help them to produce their wonderful crops. With me today is Jim Day, founder and CEO of Suncrest USA, Inc. Thank you for being here, Jim.
Thank you, Anne, for having me.
What is Suncrest? What kind of a company is it? What is your company all about?
So Suncrest is a hydroponic ag tech company, and we work with existing greenhouse growers and to help them move into lettuce growing. Often they're in flower growing. And so Suncrest has developed its own version of deep water culture hydroponic technology. It's very unique in that it's sort of a plug and play process. We work with the growers, we bring our technology in very quickly, and then after the we teach the growers to migrate their skill sets from flower growing into lettuce growing. And then as they grow the lettuce, we take a huge burden off their plate by purchasing most of their lettuce, and then we do the branding and the selling and the distribution on behalf of the grower.
Now, you're the founder of the company.
Mm-hmm.
How long ago did you start the company?
We started the company in January 1st, 2012.
And you're the one that came up with a special process? How did it all evolve? Did you say, I want to come up with a process and then start a company? Or did you say, I want to start a company and then work on a process that's unique?
I actually invested in some flower growing greenhouses years ago. And during the big Great Recession, because the flower markets were really shrinking, and 25% of flower growers actually went out of business in 2008 and 9. And the group I was working with went out of business, and I inherited a lot of greenhouses and decided I didn't want to stay in the flower business. I wanted to provide food to people, and I knew a lot about the organic sector, and so I looked at different options. We looked at hydroponic tomatoes and realized that some very large tomato growers sort of own the market, and so then we looked at lettuce and realized that most of the lettuce in this country is grown in Salinas or Arizona and shipped all over the country. And I thought, it grows very fast, and I thought, let's focus on that.
Now, the viewers may not understand when we're talking about transitioning greenhouse growers, what has happened to the floral industry? I mean, you were involved in it, you know firsthand.
Yeah, so, well, the bigger problem came years ago when Colombia came into the market, and really they built enormous houses and were able to provide very low price points, and it hurt the flower growers a great deal. And then later on, the box stores came in and started selling product very inexpensively, and it hurt the independent flower growers.
So you will help producers who have greenhouses, and you help them produce lettuce. Your company is, I mean, how many regions are you working in? Is it, right now, I know you're working in San Mateo County.
Correct. So the company, I founded the company, I was living up in the Seattle area, and so our first operation was a small prototype operation that is still operating. It's actually up on Whidbey Island, and we have a little customer base up there. And since I had previously lived in Woodside, I came down to this area and started knocking on doors and talking to growers, and discovered that in Pescadero, there was a grower very interested in transitioning out of their flowers into something like lettuce.
Is part of your mission or one of your goals at the company to have local growers, finding local markets for the local growers? Is that a piece of what you do, or is it just helping the local growers?
No, it's really finding the local market. The idea is that if you go way back in time with the world of organics, I mean, the basic premise was that organics would be coming from local farmers, and the organic growing practices would be very sustainable, and there wouldn't be any pesticides and herbicides, and that was probably 90% of the push into organics. We have found that organics are now distributed all over the country from different locations. What we're looking at, because people really want local, is we came up with a system whereby we can help local growers provide local produce without herbicides and pesticides in high volume all year long to the local markets. So we build those local markets for them.
Well, that was going to be my next question. So you actually help them with the marketing of that product then?
Correct.
So if a farmer signs on with you, and we'll look at the Oku operation in a minute, if a farmer signs on with you, what is he or she getting? I mean, they sign on, they decide they're going to grow your lettuce, and then how do you help them?
We run numbers for them so they can see the P&L and the profitability of the arrangement, and they sign a hydroponic growing agreement, and inside that agreement is something called a license, and we license our technology to them, and we install the technology turnkey as part of the fee for them to get involved. And then once the technology's up and running, we make a commitment to training them to grow, and then we make a commitment to purchasing most of their lettuce and then establishing the market out there for them.
Oh, so you market the lettuce. The grower doesn't have to worry about it.
The issues for growers, they're wonderful growers. They're very
Right.
focused, and it's a big job to do a great job as a grower. But we're experts in the branding and the marketing and the sales area, along with the technology. And so we've married all of those skill sets together. And yeah, we've taken that off the plate for the grower. We do the sales and marketing, and then we do the distribution as well.
And of course, your branding is on your shirt as well.
Yes.
No, couldn't help but notice that. Now, when you interacted with the Okus, how did that work? You approached them first, and then they used to be called Oku Nursery, and now they're Pescadero Growers, I believe, right?
Well, sort of. I was knocking on doors of different greenhouse owners, and one day I went down and knocked on their door, and I told them our story, and they were thinking about getting into aquaponics. But when I laid out the arrangement that we had with our licensing and with the marketing and sales, they felt that that was a very good way to go. They have over 10 acres of cut flowers that they've been doing for years, I think 100 years. And so what we've done is we've set aside a portion of their greenhouses. It's actually 2.5 acres, and we're currently operating in about half of that space. And we decided that for the lettuce part of their business, we needed a different name. And so we came up, working with them, we came up with the name Pescadero Growers, and then we developed a logo mark that went behind that. And so on our labeling, what we do is we have, I call it a derivative branding, because we want Suncrest to be able to go to cities all over the country, and we have a national brand called Suncrest that supports the growers with the technology, kind of like a Driscoll's a little bit. But then in each local area, we want distinctive branding. And so the local brand changes. So here it's Pescadero Growers with our yellow mark behind it. But you go up to Whidbey Island, it's Whidbey Island Growers. You go to Dallas, it's Dallas Growers. So wherever you go, the local brand changes for that particular market. So the consumer base knows that it's being grown locally always.
That's perfect.
Yeah.
That's great. That's what it's all
Yeah,
about.
that's right.
Well, let's take a look. We had quite a visit at Oku Nursery, and let's watch the tape.
Okay, great.
We're here at Pescadero Growers with Steve Oku, the owner and operator. Steve, thank you so much for having us in your beautiful facility today.
Well, thank you for coming. Glad to have
Now,
you.
I can't help but notice this lettuce is perfect, and you're now in the lettuce growing business, but you were in the floral business, is that right? Are you still in that? Or?
We're still in the flower business. My grandfather started 115 years ago in Mountain View, and in the early 60s we built the nursery here, primarily to grow carnations. Then the Colombian people took over that business, so then we switched to roses. 10, 15 years later they took over that market. The world kept getting smaller and smaller, so then we decided we needed to change crops. We needed to go to something where local's important. And luckily, Jim from Suncrest came, knocked on my door. We were looking at lettuce anyway. We were looking actually at going aquaponics, where you have fish and lettuce, and determined that we didn't want to go that route. It was more complicated, and I didn't like the idea of fish poop on the lettuce. So we decided to just grow lettuce and do the best job we could.
So have you made a complete switch now to lettuce growing, or do you still have your...
No, this is a 10-acre facility, and we have lettuce right now just in 1 acre, but hopefully next year we're going to start on another acre. The production, growing hydroponically on deep water culture the way we do it, where all the lettuce you see is floating on water, it's about 1 foot deep. And we plant on one end and harvest on this end. And hopefully every 4 weeks we can plant, rotate to here and harvest. And so that's what we want to do. It's a very efficient way to grow.
So what do you grow here? What types of lettuce? I see an awful lot of them, a lot of varieties.
Well, we grow equal amounts of bib lettuce or butter lettuce. And then this is red romaine. On the other side, we have a variety called Little Gem. We're growing a little bit of that. We're starting to get good response. A variety called Red Oak, very colorful red leaf that puts pizzazz in someone's salad. Our customers are primarily restaurants, and we try to grow the best quality we can. And they're really concerned about food safety. The fact that we're indoors, we can eliminate bugs. There's insect screen on the whole greenhouse. We're keeping mammals out, so virtually no risk of E. coli. And that's the big scare of leafy greens is E. coli from animals and providing disease on
I hadn't thought about the safety standpoint, but in terms of a predictable product, that's important to restaurants, I know. Is that a reason that they will often buy from you?
Yeah, we're year-round. We're trying to produce a crop every month and continually planting. So we're hoping to get 12 crops a year. We're thinking we need lights and actually injecting carbon dioxide into the greenhouse. People are so afraid of carbon dioxide, but that's what the plants use in their photosynthetic process. So growth becomes much faster and better if there's lots of carbon dioxide.
So how do you fertilize them? You said you're not into aquaponics, but what's your secret, or maybe it is a secret?
Well, each of our tanks has 35,000 gallons of water.
Uh-huh.
And so we've been in the growing business for 100 years. We have laboratories that we trust. They're always monitoring the levels of nutrients in our soil. And Cornell University has been doing this for 10, 15 years. And so there's a lot of research as to what the plants actually use and how much nutrients get into the leaves. And so I think it's pretty much of a science. So we talk to our chemists. They develop a fertilizer system for us so we can impart the fertilizer into the water. And the plants only use the water that they need. If you look at field-grown lettuce, if they're using sprinkler, each head of lettuce takes about, I think, 32, 35 gallons of water. If it's drip, they may be using 16 gallons. In here, we're using 1 gallon per head of lettuce.
Wow.
There's no evaporation. There's no water that goes down to the ground. In a field, you're overhead watering, and by the very nature of growing in the field, even organic, right? The water has to pass through the soil structure. If you don't, then you get salt buildups, and that's bad for the plants. So there's always a little bit of water going down past the root surface, and that could create problems.
So you talked about moving the crops through and maybe getting a crop a month. Is that correct? How would that compare to a normal, if you were growing lettuce on a farm? Is your production greater?
Oh, much greater. I think could be up to 50 times more productive per acre. So what you see here is about less than an acre, and I think we can grow the equivalent amount of lettuce is about 50 acres.
And can you tell us a little bit about, you've mentioned some restaurant customers, who some of the restaurants are who are buying your product, or grocery stores? I understand you also sell to a couple of grocery stores.
We sell to the Ritz in Half Moon Bay, the Ritz in San Francisco. In fact, about a week and a half ago, they came 2 days in a row bringing chefs, and they were just really amazed and offered for us to go to the Ritz, and they'd give us a free dish here and there, which was kind of gratifying. But we sell to Madeira at Sand Hill. It's a Michelin star restaurant. They love our product. Tender Greens, we're starting to sell them. We have about 100 high-end restaurants.
Wow.
That we sell to, and we want to grow. Pretty much everything we grow right now is sold, and so this is only a portion. We're going to be doubling the size of this facility, hopefully next year, and it's going well.
So in terms of getting to all these restaurants, you are not doing that yourself, right? Is that, I believe, was it Suncrest that set you up?
My good friend Jim happened to knock on my door when we were saying, oh man, we got to find, we're a 100-year-old company and we're dying growing flowers. It's very difficult. And serendipitously, he knocks on my door. looking for another nursery. I said, well, what do you want? And we started talking about lettuce, and we were interested in lettuce. And he said he had this system. It was basically a turnkey system. So we didn't figure this out. Suncrest figured it out. And it's a very good system. There's pumps just outside the greenhouse that recirculate the water. The water's filtered. It goes through a UV light system, so it's disinfected. They gave us the initial fertilizer recipe, but you know, we've been growing a long time.
Of course, you know your business.
We tweak it a little bit, but the relationship we have with them is they've held our hands through the process of setting the system up, and they also do our marketing.
I see.
And so it's really a great system. I like the idea of that we're local.
Right.
And I like the idea that Suncrest can take this blueprint and go to other growers in the flower business, friends of mine, who are having struggling, and go to, you know, Utah and in different cities and set up an operation just like this.
So they handle the distribution for you as well, so you
Correct.
just have to worry about the growing. Okay.
I'm not a marketer, you know.
Well, you know what you're doing. Are we able to take a closer look at some of the things you're doing here? Maybe some of the rafts or?
Sure. James, you want to flip open a raft so they can see the root system? I mean, what we're looking for is nice long roots, white, no hint of brown, very healthy. That means the plant's healthy.
Wow, that's amazing. I had no idea they would, huh. So when they're sent, this is a naive question, when you send those to the restaurants, you take the roots off before they're packed, or Suncrest does, right?
Correct. No,
Okay.
we do all that. We do the packaging.
Right. Okay.
But we cut the roots off. There are some hydroponic growers that leave the roots on and call it living lettuce.
Right.
But we feel that, you know, we've done experiments, and leaving the roots on, it's a bit dirty, and we've done, you know, keeping quality, there's no difference. In fact, the lettuce roots want to live too. And so, you know, when you eat lettuce, you want the nutrients that are in the leaves. You don't want them being sucked down to keep the roots alive. So we feel that since the top part lives just as long if you cut it all off, especially if the humidity's right. And it's a lot easier for the restaurants.
Right. Okay. And this is your son James, right?
This is James.
James Oku, and fourth generation, right? Fourth generation on the growers. What else do you think viewers might want to see here?
Well, you could see the nursery. You could see how we start from seed.
Now, James, you've learned probably everything you know from your dad. Now we're hoping you'll educate us a little bit about what we're seeing here in this part of the greenhouse.
So here, this is an ebb and flow table. This is where we raise the seedlings. It's a high-dense planting area. They will stay on this table for about 2 weeks until they reach maturity. And once they reach maturity, then we'll transplant them into the large ponds that you see over there. This is a really big way to save space, and we can monitor very closely all of the plants. We want to make sure it's really uniform, and that if there is any uniformity, it won't reach the pond.
I see.
And
So you pull some out. In other words, you see a couple that you don't think are perfect and their history. I see. And now, are you able to show us some of the seeding area as well, or no?
yes, we'll look at that in a second.
Sure.
So the way these are all watered is once the plants are in here, this table will flood, and it's all timed, and depending on the time of year, we change how long it will flood. And the holes in the bottoms of all these trays will allow the water to wick up through the soil to water the plants. And that way we don't get any water on the top of the plant, and it's much safer, and you don't have to worry about disease and fungus growing as much on your plants.
Now, obviously, you grew up with farming or the nursery world. What's your earliest memory of getting involved in it, or what you did, how you helped your dad?
My earliest memories of the farm involve go-karts. Just driving around the nursery for fun. Ag-related, I remember being fairly young and helping build some of the greenhouses outside. I remember doing a lot of computer work, trying to help write down all of our procedures as we've changed them and gone into a more modern era with computer-controlled greenhouses and things of that nature.
Interesting. So you've helped modernize everything, and yet your dad's taught you all the traditional.
Well, my father
secrets
actually modernized most of it, but
good.
I helped kind of write down all the procedures,
I see.
and so we have records of things.
Nice. Well, it's a great tradition in your family. So now let's go over and look at the seating area.
Okay, sounds good.
So James, now start us at the beginning, if you would, please. We've looked at a little bit of the finished product. We've looked at the interim process. How does it all start?
So this is how it starts. We start with plug trays, and there is 162 plugs in one of these trays, and we put a seed in each hole, and then we would prepare it. And seeding by hand is horrible. I mean, that's 162 holes. Doing by hand is really slow. So we have a vacuum seeder, which is over here. And what we'll do is we have this device here, and there is a hole that corresponds to every single plug here. We'll pour seed on it, and we'll activate a vacuum. And the vacuum will hold each seed right in the hole. And then this will come over, go on top, and then we'll kill the vacuum, and all the seeds will fall right exactly where we want them. And it makes it nice and fast and efficient.
And then do you have to cover them up again with dirt or soil, or do you just leave them open?
From this stage, we keep them open, and we put them into a germination room, which is right here. And it'll stay about 1 to 2 days in the dark, which will allow the seed to crack open and just barely start. We won't even see a sprout yet by the time we'll take them out and put them onto the ebb and flow tables that we saw earlier.
So in talking to your dad off camera, James, he mentioned that 75 degrees seems to be the optimal temperature in here. And I know we've had some ambient noise earlier, and I hear some kind of background noise right now. Can you explain what that's all about? How do you control that temperature?
So all of our greenhouses are controlled with computers. We monitor a whole bunch of things, whether it's air temperature, sunlight, humidity, and we'll check and we'll change it throughout the day. And so as the conditions outside change, we can change what our greenhouses are doing. And so the ambient noise was our shade cloth closing because the plants were receiving a little bit too much light, and we wanted to correct that.
Interesting. I see. Good. So now let's go and look at the finished product.
Okay, sounds good.
Here we go. I see a whole carton of beautiful fresh Bib lettuce headed out. Is this how all of your shipments go out, or how does that work?
This shipment is only for grocery stores, for end consumers. The majority of our lettuce goes to restaurants in bulk bags. And so instead of having only 12 heads in a case, they'll get 24.
I see. Is there any other difference? I noticed I think someone mentioned crispers or...
Yeah, these ones are in crispers for the consumer. The restaurants get 2 bags of 12 each.
I see. And so they leave on pallets for the restaurants, is that right?
Yeah.
Great. Well, you have such a great operation, and we want to thank you and your father for having us here.
Thank you for coming out.
Quite an adventure.
Well, the Okus are an obvious success story for Suncrest and a great partnership. I'm wondering now, Jim, are you approaching other greenhouse growers in San Mateo County? Is that top secret? Are there any other projects underway that you're able to share with us?
We are knocking on doors and talking to a number of individuals. We have really given the Okus and Pescadero Growers the license for a region, so we do it by territory. And so, no, we will not be opening up other growers to do lettuce to compete with them within this market space. We are talking to, we're very close to some deals for some very large operations in some other areas.
Okay. Well, that's perfect then for them. So they have. So just before we close, where can people find the lettuce? We've shown them the clip of Pescadero Growers. We've talked about Suncrest. Where, in terms of grocery stores, restaurants, where can the viewers find your product?
Well, we're in a couple of the grocery stores like Roberts, Sagona's, Bianchini's up in Portola Valley, but we're primarily in the food service industry. And if you've ever had dinner and salads at the Ritz-Carlton or Madeira up on Sand Hill Road, both of the Fairmonts in the Bay Area, Parcel 104, we're in quite a few restaurants. The chefs absolutely love the product.
Great. And many of the people you mentioned, or the venues that you mentioned, are As Fresh as It Gets award winners and on the freshasitgets.com site, so people can look it up. Well, Jim, thank you so much for sharing your great technology and company with us today.
Yeah, thank you.
And thank you to all of you at home who are tuning in to As Fresh as It Gets, and hope you'll be with us next time.